I think we have got it.
Uh-huh.
We have got it.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'll just go where we stopped. Right. So I'll just do a quick summary of what we did last time. And if you recall this particular slide where we talked about knowledge ownership, and then we said that these intellectual property rights gives us knowledge ownership. It gives us some rights that are territorial. We said that the term is time limited. We said that there are certain exceptions. We will discuss about the exceptions later. And then there are certain obligations of the right holder towards society. This is where we sort of summarized it last time. Now we take it further from here. And what we then did is we also looked at, we said if it is time limited, I said I would discuss this at some length. For example, patents has a term of 20 years from the date of filing the patent application, provided you get the patent. A design registration has a term of 10 years when you file the design registration and you get the registration, and then you can extend it only by 5 more years. Trademark, when you usually get it first for 10 years, but you can go on renew it every 10 years. Copyright, I will come to that later and details of that. So, looking at this, the important part is that when we are doing some work, an important aspect is that when we look at our work, we have to identify from our work what is it that we have created. And based on what is it that we have created, we will have to decide whether my creation can be protected by a patent. Can my creation be protected by a copyright? Can my creation be protected by design registration? Can my creation be protected by a trademark? Or should I keep it as a trade secret or whatsoever? So there is a choice, and we'll have to choose which is the correct tool for my creation to protect. So that is something that we'll have to take a call. So, so therefore, what we do when we are doing our work and we have some creation, we take those intellectual creations, we convert that into a property. So we take ownership of that, establish your rights to those creations, then you exploit your rights. The important part is when you publish a paper, when you publish in a journal, when you publish a paper, you do not become the owner of that work. You become the author of the work, but you're not an owner of the work. If you want to become the owner of the work, then specifically, if you're doing some work related to functionalities, inventions, then you have to file a patent for it. If you are what you protected in a publication is the copyright, the way in which you have expressed that work, but not the work itself. Okay, that is very important for us. So suppose I invent a new way of doing something on a new device, I publish it, then I don't still own that creation. I I am the author of that creation, but I'm not the owner of the creation. So there's a difference in the two. Okay, so publication does not give you ownership of that particular creation. Okay, now I will just now come to patent. We hear the word patent all the time. So we must first try and analyze what is the meaning of a patent. And I have given here some sort of a very workable definition of a patent. So let us start. Patent is a grant. Grant means, it is given. So patent is a grant. It is something that is given. So when something is given, Somebody has to give and somebody gets. So if it is a grant by whom? Sovereign or state means an independent country. A country that's independent, it's got its own government, or it's got a king, or whatever, it's a sovereign. It's a free country. Sovereign or state. State means not state of Maharashtra, or state of West Bengal, or state of Rajasthan. It is the country. So the country, so who gives the patent? The country gives you the patent. And we said that it's a territorial. Now it gives that right to whom? It gives it to a person. It gives it to a person. Okay? It gives it to a person. I'll come to that word person later on. Person means an inventor. So it gives it to the inventor. Giving exclusive right. Very important. Gives what? Gives exclusive right. So this right is a peculiar right. This is a negative right. This peculiar right, which is a negative right, that when you get a patent, okay, you may not be able to use it straight away. But you are getting a right to do what? It's a negative right to stop others. Very interesting. To stop others from making, using, exercising, selling, offering for sale or vending what? An invention. So patents protect inventions. Okay. So, and when you get a patent, it gives you the right to stop others. It's a negative right. Now, is it given forever? No, it is time limited. So, for a limited period of time. But then what do you have to do? You have to disclose your invention. Now you will say, I also publish, but no, you have to disclose the invention. How? In the patent specification. So you have to disclose your invention in a patent specification. See the word patent specification. So there's a specific way in which you have to disclose your invention. Simply writing a paper is also disclosure, but it is not a patent specification. So you have to disclose it in a patent specification. How? Such that anyone trained in the art can reproduce that invention. So when you write this particular thing, you have to write it in such a way that somebody else should be able to reproduce your invention as well. Somebody who is in your field should be able to reproduce this particular invention. So you write a patent in a very specific way out there. And we'll come to the body of a patent, what it looks like later on. So patent is a grant by a sovereign or state to a person, given to a person, giving him what? Giving him exclusive right only for him to do what? To stop others from making, using, exercising, selling, offering for sale, or vending what? An invention. So if you write a poetry, you don't get a patent for a poetry. You get a patent for an invention, because poetry is not an invention. Poetry is an expression, right? It's the expression of your mind. So for poetry, you get copyright. For poetry, you don't get a patent. Okay. So invention, and we said that when we are talking about inventions are related to solving functional issues, right? Functional issues. And if nobody has done that, that leads to an invention. So disclosing that invention in a patent specification such that anyone trained in the art can reproduce the invention. You disclose it that way. So it's a disclosure. Very important. It's a disclosure. Now, important part here is that this right which is given to that person, okay, to exclude, but can the person use it himself or herself? And therefore, it's a qualified right. What do you mean by qualified right? It means the following. For example, suppose you have invented a new drug. You file a patent application for it. Let's assume that it has gone through examination and you have got the patent. Can you go to the market and put the drug in the market just because you have got the patent? Will anybody answer the question? Will anybody try to answer this question to me? that I have invented a new drug, a new molecule. I have filed the patent application. I've got the patent in my name. Can I go and market that drug? Can I put it in the market? I can stop others because I got the patent. But can I go to the market? Anybody? Please try to respond. I'll wait for your response. I'm waiting for your response. And, Mr. Sengupta says, I think I cannot. How many agree with him?
The drug should pass through various stages of testing before it can actually be marketed to the
Yeah, so you
public.
need to go through certain type of regulatory clearances on safety, on efficacy, and a whole bunch of things, and only then you can market. So simply getting a patent does not allow the inventor or the owner of the patent to go to the market. But what the person can do is to stop anybody else from coming to the market. You understanding the fine difference?
Yes.
Correct. So it's very important for us to understand that when you get a patent, okay, if there are any regulatory clearances that are required to be done, then you will have to go through that. Suppose you invent, you create a new, let's say, prosthetic. Can you go and straight away go to the market with that, even if you have got a patent? Answer is no, because the prosthetic has to go through a whole bunch of regulatory clearances, compatibility with the human system, compatibility, the biological safety, whole bunch of things that go with it. So the patent gives the owner a qualified right to use the invention, a qualified right. But the right is certainly has to stop others from making, using, selling, vending that invention. So patent is a negative right. Have I made it clear as to what is the meaning of negative right? There is a positive right and a negative right. This is a negative right. You can stop others, but can you use it? It is subject to certain conditions. Am I making sense and clear?
Yes.
Okay. So that is the first part that you have to understand, that this is what is the meaning of, and please understand that patents are given only for inventions. If it is not an invention, I do a sculpture, that is not an invention. That's a creation. It's a creative thing which I've done. I can get a copyright for a sculpture. I can't get a patent for a sculpture. And similarly, if I design a teacup, the shape, if I'm talking about the non-functional aspect and only aesthetic feature I want to protect, then I will go into a design registration. But the functional feature I will protect by a patent. Can any one of you give me an example that suppose I have a drinking water glass, and I want to add, say, when I put hot water in the glass and I want to drink, what happens? I feel it hot, right? I can't drink it just like that. I put boiling water in a glass and I want to drink it. Can I drink? Can I hold it? No. But if I want to pour hot water in a glass and I want to drink that water with my hands, what do you think will be the type of invention you will do?
Like a glass similar to a thermos flask.
Sorry?
Glass similar to a thermos flask, such that there's a barrier in
Yeah.
between.
So maybe you'll make it double walled. See, there are so many people attending the lecture. There's only one person responding. I find this very strange. I mean, why is everybody so silent? Believe it or not, I lecture to 360 students in IIT Jodhpur. And, it's a massive, orchestration that we have. So please, participate. Please participate in the lecture. Simply listening to the lecture doesn't give you much joy. Doesn't give me also much joy lecturing to a silent audience. I need the audience to react. Okay, fine. So now let's go further. Now, now for example, I just want to show you a figure. I want you to very carefully see and observe this figure. Please see the construction. Please see the drawing. Please see the figure very carefully and note the figure very, very carefully. Have you noted it? Please remember what you have seen. I've changed it. Now please see the figure and again note the nature of what has been done. Okay? And interestingly, I'm going to go back, go forward. Interestingly, this device, what is this device?
Paper clip.
Paper clip. So this is a paper clip. Interestingly, this paper clip got a patent in the US, that US 742893, when on 3rd of November 1903. I've purposely chosen this particular example. So in 1903, this paper clip, which was made, got a patent for this invention. Now, if I ask any one of you, except Nikhil, to tell me what is the construction of this paper clip, and somebody tell me and verbalize what is the construction of this paper clip, how is this paper clip made? Please go ahead. Except Nikhil, I want someone else to respond. Please respond. How is this? What you're seeing in front, if I ask you to describe, what will you say? How is it constructed? Please go ahead. I can't hear. Please unmute yourself. I can't hear. Can you unmute? Can somebody unmute and respond?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, sir. Based on the markings which are given in this painting, we can.
Can you please speak a bit louder, please?
Yeah, based on the markings that we can see in this patent, let's say 1, 2, 3 or ABC, we can twist and turn at those specific positions to get the.
That is fine, but construction, what is it made of? What is this made of? If I ask you to construct this, what is it made of?
Wet,
It's a wire.
still wet,
It's a wire, correct?
loop
It's
shape.
a double-edged wire. And what you have done with the wire? You folded it. The wire has been turned round. You can see this, that the wire has been turned like this, then turned like this, then turned like this, and there's a slight edge which is coming out like this. Similarly here, the edge is here, it's turned, it's come like this, and then turned around. Have you noted that? Then you look at this one. Here also, the wire has been taken and turned around like that, and turned around. Mind you, interestingly, this got a patent in 1994. What was the patent earlier? 1903. 90 years later, somebody got a patent on a clip of this type. Now, can you note what is the difference between this clip and that clip in 90 years? Anybody to respond?
both the ends, the starting and ending point of the wire are now at the same point or at the same level.
Absolutely correct. Both the starting and the end point are at the same, but here also it is same. See here, in this it is same. In this one, in the figure 7, it is same. Figure 8, it is same. In this figure and this figure 9 and 10, it is different. And 6 is different. But in figure 7 and 8, it is the same. And
Those
here
starting points
also
again
it is
have,
same. So what is the difference?
those starting points again have a curve, have been given a curve.
Correct. And here there is no curve. What else? Apart from the curve,
Also, there is a gap between the wires.
the gap is there. Here also there is gap in the wire. Because if there is no gap, your paper cannot go through.
Sir, middle loop is complete in the 1994 patent.
You now look at this part. The middle loop also is 90%, 90 degrees. It's completely there.
It's a
What is
complete.
the key invention here? Key difference. I'm again showing it to you here, showing it to you here. It's a very interesting part. When in 1903, in this clip, if you put the paper in and when you try to take out the clip and take out the paper, what will happen? Because of this turn here, this part, it's likely that the paper will tear. So somebody wanted a better clip functionality. So wanted to improve the functionality. How did they improve the functionality? By simply making it straight and taking it out the end. So when the paper comes here, you take out the paper and the paper will not tear. You imagine that simply to grow these two ends, to take them up to the end and simply bend it slightly and make it straight. That's an invention. It took 90 years to do this invention. See, this is where I want you to appreciate what is an invention and how impact of functionality is so important. And it took 90 years for someone to think of making these two up and making the whole thing straight. So, very important. So, when you look at inventions, you have to learn, you have to be very alert. So, what is the invention in this? And why did this get a patent? It got a patent because nobody in those 90 years had done this. Can you imagine it took 90 years to make a clip of this type? Very important. And we will go into details of these type of inventions and all of the types of inventions that they are. So which means that we will then have to work out that to get patents, what do we have to do? And how do we go about getting patents for these type of inventions? Any questions at this stage? Please go ahead. Any questions? Any observations?
So just a question regarding this. That did
Can
the
you please speak a bit louder because
sir, just a question regarding this clip that it took 90 years to get the different design or invention get patented. Now, is it a chance that the same clip is being used before 1994, but somebody thought that now let me put it as a patent because it has some new functionality. So can there be that kind of a scenario with respect to inventions?
there can be a scenario. Now I will respond to this as soon as we come to we carry on and we will look at what are the benchmarks for patentability. That what do patent offices have to do? What do the public do? And how, if such a thing has happened, suppose the clip was already there and somebody thought I must patent it now. Correct? Now, first we'll have to see what are the benchmarks for patentability and how patents are given. And there could be errors, there could be mistakes because it's human. So there could be errors. But otherwise, the principle on which a patent is to be given, patent should not be given if it was already existing before. If it was already existing before, and if the patent office gets to know of it, then it should not be given a patent. And we will come to why. So to answer your question in short, in principle, that one should not have got a patent for it if it was already existing. But then that it was already existing, who will come and tell? Somebody has to tell that it was existing. So either the patent office has to search and find out that it was existing, or public must tell the patent office, "Hare, you made a mistake. You gave a patent for this. It was already existing." Right? And we will answer this in more detail as we go along. Have I answered your query for the moment? Have I answered your query for the moment?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we'll carry on now.
Sir,
So-
I have one question.
Please go ahead.
What do the numbers signify in the picture?
Number where? The US number or the number in the picture?
No, yeah, the number 20, 27, 40.
Okay. The numbers 2021, all these are part numbers. So when we are describing this particular object or article, when we write the description and verbalize, then we verbalize and identify this part or this part by these numbers, like in an engineering drawing. So when you to make an engineering drawing, for different parts, you put a number. So this also, for different parts, you put a number. Then when you describe it with these numbers, so that you then make a reference to the figure and people can go to the figure and see and say, oh, it means this part, it means that part. Clear?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
So that is where, like in an engineering drawing, the way you do it. This is not an engineering drawing, this is a sketch. But in a sketch also, you can put a number and then describe this in terms of the numbers. We will take examples of this and read patents both with these type of mechanical things and otherwise. So now, we will now move to asking a question that whether all types of inventions that I do and all types of inventions, can they qualify to get a patent? All types. Then if we say yes, all types can in principle get patent, then what are the other benchmarks for patentability? So these are the two questions we need to answer. And when we say what type of invention can get patent, that is called a patentable subject matter, which means that every type of work that we do, that may be an invention, but you may not get a patent for it because the patent law may put a bar and say, oh, if it is of this type, you can't get a patent for it, however great your invention may be. And we will now look at it very carefully, how inventions are filtered for patents. Okay? So I'm just making a very simple representation. I'm saying, can all types of inventions be patented? So I've made, as you can see, two types of filters. One filter of this type, which is on the left, and one filter of the type I made on the right side. Two types of filters. Filter number one is a very broad filter. It says, very interestingly, in the patent law of various countries, like in India, it says somewhere what are not inventions within the meaning of the act. That means it is an invention otherwise. But the patent law in that country says we do not consider this to be an invention. And if it is not considered to be an invention within the framework of that patent act or law, then you can't get an in patent. Why? Patents are only given for inventions. Now the law defines and says this is not an invention. Then you can't get a patent for it. Forget about other criteria. Then it will not even go to filter 2, which means if these are the type of inventions going through filter 1, and if these 4 go, these 2 get stuck here because these are not, inventions within the meaning of the act, then it will not go to filter 2 at all. It will get stuck in filter 1. Then you will not get patent for that invention. Now we will go through now a list of in India for which you can get, which are patentable subject matter and what is not a patentable subject matter. So we need to understand the filter number 1 first. And then if it goes to the filter number 1 here, then we will subject those to filter number 2. And then some things will go through filter number 2 and something will get stuck in filter number 2. And what comes out of filter number 2 will be the patented inventions or patents out of that. So many inventions went through filter number 1. These many came out of filter number 1. Then those went here, went inside the filter number 2, and filter number 2, something got stuck because they did not meet the requirements of patentability. Is this conceptually clear to all of you? Is this conceptually clear to all of you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to put this figure in front of you diagrammatically so that you understand that this is where we stand. So now what we will do, we will look at filter number 1 a bit more carefully. A bit more carefully, we will now look at filter number 1. Now what is filter number 1? So we will now look at in detail of what is filter number 1. Now filter number 1, very interestingly, it says that the following are not inventions within the meaning of the act. So it says an invention which is frivolous or which claims anything obviously contrary to well-established natural laws. So suppose you come and say that I have created a perpetual machine. I have created a perpetual machine, right? Is that, will I get a patent for it? Is it frivolous or is it, contrary to well-established natural law? Tell me, if I say that I have created a perpetual machine, am I saying something which is contrary to natural law or it is not contrary to natural law?
The perpetual motion machines are definitely contrary to the conservation of energy law.
Absolutely. So the Indian Patent Act says that if you claim that you have done something like that, then that is not an invention with the meaning of the act. We will not even look at it. Because our laws of thermodynamics tells you that that is not possible. It is obviously contrary to well-established natural law. Then come to the next one. An invention, the primary, mind you, the primary or intended use or commercial exploitation of which would be contrary to public order or morality, or which causes serious prejudice to human, animal, or plant life, or health, or to environment, then such inventions may be a great invention, and you will not get a patent for that. Can we Can we think of examples of that? Say, for example, let us say that would be contrary to public order or morality. Suppose I invent a device, a novel device for pickpocketing, and I file a patent for it. Should the patent office give me a patent for it? A novel device for pickpocketing. Should the patent office give me a patent? It's a great invention. It's a very great invention. Take this device, go to a crowded place, press 2 buttons, and everybody's wallet comes to me automatically. Automated pickpocketing. Targeted pickpocketing.
It's contrary to public order, so it's not
Exactly.
invention.
It is contrary to public order or morality. So patent office will say, sorry, your invention may be a great invention, but my law says this is not an invention within the meaning of the act, or I will not give you a patent. On the other hand, if you look at, for example, the next part of the sentence, or which causes serious prejudice to human, animal, or plant or health or to the environment. Let us say that you are working on pesticides. You're developing pesticides. And when you're developing pesticides, you develop such a pesticide that it indiscriminately kills all pests. Whichever pest is in the environment will get killed. Great invention, very powerful pesticide. Would the patent office give you a patent for it? Answer is no. Why? Because this invention of yours, primary or intended or commercial exploitation of which has a serious prejudice to human, animal, or plant life or health or to the environment. So such inventions, okay, may be great inventions, but it will fall within this particular meaning of this, and therefore the patent office may not give you a patent for it. So you'll have to justify that no. My pesticide is indeed selected. My herbicide is indeed selected, and therefore it does not kill all all the um, plants, etc. It is targeted. It can do this. It can do that. So those type of inventions you cannot get a patent. So this is when the mere discovery of a scientific principle or formulation of an abstract theory. Okay, very important. Now, laws of gravity. Laws of gravity is a scientific principle. It is not an invention. If the Indian Patent Act says if you create these laws, okay, there will be discoveries. I may give you a Bharat Ratna for it, but I will not give you a patent. Clear? Then I will go to 3D later on. That is very complex in chemistry. I will touch that later. We will come to 3D later. Then, very important, a substance obtained by a mere admixture resulting only in the aggregation of properties of components thereof, or a process for producing such substance. What does this mean? But suppose I have substance A, B, C. Let's assume for a moment that nobody has mixed substance A, B, and C together in the world. I came and took, 10% of A, 80% of B, and 10% of C, and prepared this mixture, which nobody else has prepared before. Right? Now, is it an invention? It is. But again, it says if the end property of that mixture is equivalent to the mathematically weighted sum each of the properties. So if the end property is equivalent to that of 10% of A, 80% of B, and 10% of C, then that is not considered to be an invention within the meaning of the act. So therefore now it demands on you to bring in a certain level of creativity. Similarly, if you just combine various equipment together, each equipment is doing its own job independent of the other, then that combination does not get a patent. So you have to have some ingenious way of combining their functions so that the combined function is very different from the mathematical function, mathematical summation of that function, of those things. So that is, then if you come and say, I have a new way of plowing, then you will not get, because method of agriculture and horticulture is not patentable in India. Okay, so now you can see that not all types of inventions you can get patents in India. Now you look at I. In I, it says any, this is important for you people, huh? Any process for the medicinal, surgical, curative, prophylactic, diagnostic, therapeutic, or other treatment of human beings, or any process for similar treatment of animals to render them free of disease or to increase their economic value or their products is not patentable in India. Now look at this very carefully. Any process of some medicinal, surgical, curative, prophylactic, diagnostic, therapeutic, or other treatment of human beings. So which means that suppose you have created a new type of injection. A new type of injection is a device. You may be able to get a patent. But using the device to inject in the human body, the process of injecting using the device, you will not get a patent. Why? Because it says such a process for the medicinal, surgical, curative, prophylactic, diagnostic, therapeutic, or other treatment of human being, that's not patentable. Why they have put that there? Will anybody think and tell me why they have put this sort of thing as not patentable? Why? There must be a reason.
Because one
Everything
cannot
has to have a
stop,
reason.
one cannot stop the other person from getting a medical help in such a scenario.
No. Medicine is separate. It is
Yeah.
the process of giving it. It's a process of treatment. So suppose I am a doctor
Yes, yes.
and you have invented a new method of surgery.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if you patent it, then nobody else can do surgery using that. That means if a patient is dying, then I'll have to come to you to take your permission to do operation on my patient.
Correct, correct. Yeah, that is dangerous. That's why it's
Right. So therefore, the law says that the method of doing surgery, we cannot give you a patent. But the equipment that you use, that we can give you patent. Because that can be bought and sold.
Sir, I have one question here.
Please.
So how the person who has actually invented the thing gets the credit?
Sorry, tell that again.
Like the person, the doctor who has actually invented the procedures, how he gets the credit then?
In India, you will not get a patent. You may be recognized as a great doctor. Your doctors association may give you an award. The government of India may give you a Padma Shri, but you will not get a patent. So there are other ways of rewarding. Why? Because
Okay.
it takes the societal need into consideration. Clear?
Yeah, I understood. Yeah.
So now you are understanding that see the term process for so therefore method of treatment. It is in the US. Their law allows you to get a method of treatment. In India, we don't allow. So The same doctor will file a patent in the US and get a patent in US, but he won't get a patent in India. Why? Because the Indian law says that such an invention is not patentable in India by definition. Okay? So very important. Similarly, it says, next one, plants and animals in whole or part thereof, other than microorganisms, but including seeds, varieties, and species, and essentially biological processes for production or propagation of plants and animals. What does this mean? So when you take, if you extract from plants some genes and say, nobody has extracted this before, I have extracted it, or from human body, or from animal, you extract, you get out some genes, you separate, you purify, and nobody has done that before. Or that sort of thing, in India, you will not get a patent. So, question that comes, how can you, so therefore in biotechnology work, for what type of work in biotechnology can I get patent? And for what type of work in biotechnology I cannot get a patent? This is a very powerful section which we need to understand as scientists. And then design our experiments accordingly. And it says, other than microorganisms, which means if I create new microorganisms, a new living form of microorganism, I can get a patent for it. So these are things which we need to look into very, very closely. Because the type of work you people do or will be doing is very closely linked to all this. Similarly, it says here, and essentially biological processes. So suppose I am doing an artificial insemination in a test tube. I fuse and create this egg in a test tube. That is in vitro, I create. It is not an essentially biological process. But when I take that egg and then I implant it in the womb, in the, for it to grow in the human body, after that implantation, it is not my contribution anymore. Then it is an essentially biological process. So making of that egg in the IVF, yes, I may get a patent. But after implantation in the body, I will not. That is no contribution by me. So from there onwards, any of the essentially biological process will not qualify for patent. Any questions at this stage? These are very fundamental points that you will face in your research while doing your research. And therefore, in the methodology of research, you have to build an understanding of all this in the methodology of research. Any questions?
So, sir, I have one confusion here.
Please.
So it is saying that it is Indian Patents Act. So that means it restricts only other Indian people to do it, or it restricts any other people globally?
No, it is not Indian people. It is to get a patent in India. Anybody. You may do the work abroad, but if you want a patent in India, you will have to abide by the Indian patent law.
Okay, but can any other person in the world, I mean, do that thing?
No, they can do it. Even you can do it, but you may not get a patent in India for it. You can work, you can do it, but you won't get a patent in India. But you will get a patent in the US. You will get a patent in Japan. You will get a patent elsewhere because those patent acts don't have this restriction.
No, my question is like a person in India gets a patent for something, for some discovery, for some invention.
No discovery, for an invention.
Sorry, yeah, for some invention. So, like, is any other person in some other country can claim that as his invention.
No, because if I get it here and I apply for it here, it gets published and it is known to the people.
Okay.
So basically, he's asking about the exclusive rights, right? So by patent, he got the exclusive right, but the domain of exclusive right
No,
will
no, please repeat, please speak louder.
the domain of exclusive right will be it inside your country, or there is some WTO agreement that it can apply to other country as well.
No, no, no. So every country has separate patent act and you have to abide by the law in that country.
So there is no WTO agreement regarding like cross-country patent rights exchange or something like
No,
that.
not so for example, this whatever I am telling you here is about Indian Patent Act. In the US, this very same thing is looked at very differently. In Japan, it is looked at very differently. In different parts of Europe, it is looked at differently. But in India, our Patent Act has got this first filter, which has got many such restrictions. Therefore, the work that you're doing, suppose you want to get patents for it, a certain part of that, you will get patent in India, but some certain parts you will get in other parts of the world. Okay, so one has to be very careful when we apply for patents. Then we must understand for what I can get a patent in India, for what I can get a patent in the US, or I can get in Japan, or in different parts of Europe. Have I clarified? If there is a
Yes, yes.
confusion, please ask, because this is very important.
So just a general doubt. So I have this doubt, like mostly like people try to get US patent rather than Indian patent or something.
No. See, trying to get US patent is a disease. No, you don't take patent just for the heck of it. You take a patent for a purpose. If you're going to do business about it, or you're going to license it, or you're going to do something, only then you will take a patent. Patent is not like a publication. In our country, people think getting a patent is a decoration. We don't take patents for decoration. In our country, people waste government money to take patents. Only, say, oh, I got a patent. So what? Why did you take the patent? You have to ask yourself that question. What are you going to do with the patent? Are you going to, commercialize it? Are you going to give it to a company? Are you going to have it in the market? What will you do with it? It is not just like a publication that I've got 100 publications and I've got 60 patents. That is not the purpose of filing patents. Patent has a purpose. Very expensive process. So have I made is there any confusion now on this? Similarly, when you go to the next one in this list, where many of you are working on, IoT, you're working on computer systems, you're working on software. Just 1 minute. Chintan, I'll call you back. I'm in a lecture. So point is that a mathematical or business method or a computer program per se, see the word computer program per se or algorithm is not patentable. That means if you just write an algorithm and say, I want a patent for the algorithm, you will not get in India. If you have a computer program and if the patent office shows you that it is a computer program per se, now we will go into the detailed discussion of this later if you want. As to what is the meaning of computer program per se. So if the patent office shows you that your computer program is a computer program per se, what it means we'll come to later. Then you will have to show that no, my computer program is not computer program per se. Therefore, I must get a patent. Right? A mathematical method or a business method is not patentable in India. So you can see that in computer related inventions in India, to get patent is very difficult because the qualification, it says you have to show that it is not a computer program per se, that there is a technical effect. What is the technical effect? So you'll have to dissect the technical effect out of it and then say that is where my invention lies. Otherwise, it will be rejected. Then, any questions on this part? Any questions on this part?
Good.
Sir,
Please go ahead.
yeah, if that content program or algorithm or that business method is used part of as a component in a bigger picture, can it be included in the patent?
It
Or-
can be, but then the point is that that is where the architecture of what you're doing becomes very important, and therefore the entire workflow becomes very important to show where is the technical effect. But if you simply write that this is a mathematical method, you will not get a patent. If you simply say this is a computer program, now when you embed a computer program in a chip and you make the chip work, then it is not a computer program per se. But then if you have a computer program, and then you show that what is the technical effect of the computer program, then you will be able to prove that this computer program is not computer program per se. If you embed a computer program in a hardware, then there is no issue, and make it a part of the hardware.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions or confusions? Any questions? So, what I've tried to do today so far is try to show you. I'll go back to my yeah, to this. So today I was trying to concentrate only on my filter one. What are not inventions within the meaning of the act? I was trying to go through that part in the Indian patent law to see that when we are doing certain type of work, certain elements of those work may not qualify for patents in India. This is what I was trying to do today in that list which I tried to work out. And then the rest are, when you take literary dramatic works, those you can get copyright, but you can't get patent. Then, interesting, a scheme or rule or method of performing mental act, it's like a thought process. Thought processes cannot be patented. Or method of playing game. Why? Suppose Virat Kohli patents his, his drive. Then nobody playing cricket can use that drive because he can stop everybody. Then can you play the game? No. So therefore, method of playing game is not patentable. Very interesting. So you can see how the Patent Act looks at things in a much broader way. And what I will do next time, is the P, that down here, and there I will spend some time later. An invention which, in effect, please understand the word, it does not say an invention which is traditional knowledge. It says an invention which, in effect, is traditional knowledge, or which is an aggregation or duplication of known properties of traditionally known components, is not patentable in India. And we will start from here the next lecture, from here onwards, to show that how this aspect protects traditional knowledge. But on the other hand, if you are working on certain methods or materials using traditional knowledge, but you show that the work that you have done is not in effect traditional knowledge, then you may be able to qualify for a patent. So now you can see that the type of work you do, the whole research methodology that you adopt, the way you design your experiments, The way you do all these things have a very large, high implication on whether your work is patentable or not patentable. Then next time we will not only look at this, but we will also look at how to look at that filter number 2 out there. So the next lecture will not only deal again with the filter number 1 briefly, but also we will introduce the filter number 2 out there and look at details of filter number. This is the heart of patenting in our country. Is the heart of it. So any questions at this stage?
Hello, sir. There are a few questions in YouTube.
Yeah, please,
I will just read out.
kindly.
There is a question. Can I apply for a patent for an invention in a country A, which is already patented in country B?
No, you can't.
Yeah. Other one, I think you have already answered. A person invented some surgical method here in India and not getting patent. He can have a patent from some other country.
Yes,
What about-
he can have a patent from some other country if that country allows patent in that field.
Okay. Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, I think these two questions were there. I
Wonderful.
just read out.
If there are no other questions, today we will call it off today, and we will meet in the next lecture.
Next Friday.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
Friday, I'll be lecturing to you from, yeah, Friday we will meet and we will do it. Okay.
Okay.
So now I will stop sharing
Mhm.
and come out of the system.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Okay. That's okay.